Now, as people know, Connolly Society's been going a long time. One of the major events in our politicisation is young people in the 1980s, as well as the hunger strikes, was the miners' strike. So I'd like you all to welcome somebody who's a young striking miner in 1984, Brendan Moohan.
Hiya. It's a great honour to be invited by the Connolly Society to celebrate and commemorate this great man. My name's Brendan Moohan. I was a miner at Mountain Hall Colliery near Musselburgh in 1984. At that time, I was a 19-year-old laddie. I wasn't political. The most political I ever got at that time was being into the clash. And when the strike started, I never took it seriously. I actually thought we were going to do it for 2 weeks or something. Coal Board would see sense and we'd go back to work. I thought, like most other people, that I was involved in an industrial dispute. But within a few weeks I realised I wasn't. But at the beginning of that strike, our demands were moderate. We wanted to keep our jobs. We weren't fighting to change society. We didn't realise that what we were involved in was a class war. That's what we were involved in. We thought we'd go out and strike, fight for our jobs, but actually we were up against not a government, we were up against an establishment. And you might ask, why would somebody who was a miner be here at the Connolly Society event? James Connolly, his life wasn't about coal mining. You're dead right. Neither was a miners' strike. It was about class. The prize was great, and the establishment knew that if the miners could win, every worker could win. You could win, I could win, we could win, and they knew that. And that's why they picked that fight, because they were aiming not to break the miners, but to break the working class. And they used every means necessary. On behalf of their class, they used the police, the courts, the benefits system, violence, the press, the BBC. They used tactics that were honed on the streets of Brixton, Toxteth, Derry and Belfast. And during that time, my taste in music got even more political than the Clash. I was introduced to a band called the Moving Hearts. Some of you'll probably know them, right? And they put succinctly, because the laws were changed during that strike. The laws were changed in terms of where we could move and what we could do and what powers would be used against us. I remember listening to a song called No Time for Love, and it said, you call it the law, you call it apartheid, internment, partition, conscription and silence. It's the law that they make to keep me and you where they think we belong. But we didn't just take it. We responded locally in our own communities. We set up strike centres and food kitchens. And we didn't just feed striking miners and their families. We fed anybody that came in their doors. And we spoke to them. Because it wasn't charity. It wasn't begging for things. It was solidarity. That's what it was. And in our strike centres we organised pickets, bucket collections, campaigning, demonstration, rallies and speakers for anybody that would listen to us, because we had to make common cause. We weren't fighting a government or a coal board, we were fighting the entire ruling class. And the media then, and the media now, would have you believe that that strike was only about Margaret Thatcher and Arthur Scargill. Well, it wasn't. It was about us, and frankly, it was about you. And in that year, personally, I saw the police riot at Orgreave. I saw brutality at Bilston Glen, at Hunterston and Ravenscraig, because sometimes the police up here will say they weren't quite as bad as the police in England. And they're right, but they were still bloody brutal. And that was where I got my criminal record when I was arrested at Bilston Glen. I was never back down a pit again because I was blacklisted. I was sacked for being on strike, for being arrested on a picket line, and I was blacklisted on a dead-end job after dead-end job after it. I'll tell you what happened most of all. In that year, I started that year as a 19-year-old boy, but I ended that year as a 20-year-old political activist. That's what I ended up as. When I first heard to James Connolly, oddly enough, by people talking about John Maclean being a great Scottish socialist and all the rest of it, and yes, he was. And I found out later about Connolly. And what was more impressive about Connolly was also into culture. And at that time we used culture as well. Music was a big part of what was happening for us. And actually the arts community, a lot of them, and certainly the working class ones, reached out to us with their music, with their plays and the comedy scene and all the rest of it. And there was a lot of benefits for the miners with a lot of culture involved. And Connolly, well, he was hated by the ruling class in exactly the same way that we were. We were called the enemy within by Margaret Thatcher, and a lot of miners were insulted by that. A lot of miners kind of felt like, hang on, you know, the war efforts that we made and all the rest of it. I wasn't. I wore it as a badge of honour. I was absolutely the enemy within. If I was the enemy, I was doing something right. And if you turn the years back, way back, at the turn of the century, an Irish stockbroker said that Ireland was cursed the minute James Connolly set foot in it. Speaks volumes. And now it's 40 years, but I believe the relevance of the miners' strike is as relevant now as it was then. And yeah, we didn't win. But what we did do, and I should mention, I forgot to say, it wasn't just the miners, it was the men and women of our communities that stood up. The women played every bit as much a role as the men in the miners' strike. And again, we're sometimes presented as a male thing. It wasn't. But what we did, those of us who got politicised during the strike, right, we did something that will continue, just as the movement continues. We pass our values on to our daughters and our sons. And not every miner became political, right? There was some people who stood solid for the whole year and didn't get politicised, right? They never became politically conscious. But for those of us who did, we had the scales moved through our eyes. And in the end, their demands were moderate. We only wanted the earth. Thank you very much.